Hi, I'm Bart Hanson, the owner and operator of CrushLivePoker.com. The following hand comes from our call-in show that we record at 4:45 p.m. Pacific Time every Monday. If you want to call in your hand, check out the phone number in the description.
This is a 1-2 hand that I played, and I think I'm double guessing myself because I kind of played it slow on the flop.
Okay.
But I'll let you know. I'll tell you what I did.
Okay.
So I'm playing in a game, and one of the quote fun players is like away from the table. This guy was like really splashing around and like calling with just about any two pre-flop. So I'm still there, but there's a couple of decent players that are in the game.
Okay.
One of them had just sat down to my left, and this guy's a regular that plays almost all the time. He's a thinking player. I think he might be compared to the norm. He's a thinking player because it's 1-2.
I was just going to say, no offense to you or anybody else that plays 1-2, but there's different levels of thinking players at 1-2. You know what I mean?
I agree with you. He's aware of position. Like I've seen him play, comment about how he doesn't play certain cards like up front, like whereas no one ever folds like ace-10 offsuit, but he would comment about how he folds ace-10 offsuit under the gun, stuff like that.
What's the structure in this game, by the way? This is a 200 cap?
It's a 300 cap.
Okay, so it's at least playable. What's the rake like, or the drop structure? Is it a rake?
It's a rake.
Mm-hmm.
$5. It's a 10. It's like $1 per 10 up to 50. So
okay,
10%.
So it's
probably not too bad actually.
So you could probably beat that game for maybe $20-$25 an hour. I bet some of the best players. I mean, you would always move up usually, but it's not like games out here in LA which are unbeatable when they're taking $7 a hand. You know?
Yeah, it's not bad actually. I think that. In the last, I've been running decently well. I used to go to Foxwoods a lot, but I've been running pretty well, and I'm probably making like around 35 to 40 an hour.
Yeah,
but
that's
I've been
probably
running pretty well.
Pretty high to be sustainable, but I think the game
yeah,
can be
I
beaten.
definitely admit that I've been running pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
Just not getting unlucky. Like I'm not sucking out, but I'm just not getting unlucky. So anyway, I'm in a hand, and one of the friendly players is still at the table, but he happened to fold this hand. I don't know if he was distracted, but he was playing just about every hand. And this player, the player that's the villain in this hand, was under the gun. So like I mentioned, he's a tight player generally from up front and looser from later position. I've seen him limp his hands as strong as ace-king from like up front, maybe going for like a limp re-raise, but for the most part, he would probably raise that, but I've seen him do that before. So just that's in the back of my mind when I'm in this hand with him. So he limps under the gun. Another player limps also for $2, and I'm on the button, and I've got king of spades, queen of spades.
Okay.
I raised to $12, which is like a standard raise. I'm in position. I probably would raise depending on where I was, if I wasn't automatically going to be the button, I may raise this a little bit more even, but I think
what
on
do
the
people
button
usually open to in that game? 10?
Anywhere from like 8 to 17.
Yeah, I would probably raise a little bit more. I'd probably make it 15 on the button, but okay, you raised to 12. Then what happens?
Yeah, I raised to 12. There was a couple of hands in an earlier round where I actually raised pre-flop and everyone folded. And one of the times I had aces, and it was like a disaster. So I didn't really want to get everybody to fold. Although most people don't really care. Like, they're playing their hand, so if it's queen 10 offsuit, they're going to call anyway, no matter what you raise. But, yeah, I raised the 12 on the button. And the blinds fold. This guy calls. Mm-hmm. This regular player calls. And another guy calls in the field. Okay. So there's about 36 in the pot.
Yep.
And the flop comes queen 5-5. With 2 diamonds and 1 spade.
Okay. And
so
what are the stacks, by the way?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, he has not a lot. I want to say like probably. Let me think. He probably has about 180 maybe.
Okay.
A little bit less, like between 175 and 180.
Mm-hmm.
And I have him covered. I have about 425 or so.
Okay.
So I have a pretty good image at this point too, and so this flop comes down, queen 5-5, and he checks, and then the other player doesn't look interested in the hand at all, and he checks, and then I decide to check back. I know it's a mistake, and I was trying to get cute, I guess, because I figured that if the guy, I didn't think I'd get 3 streets from this guy who I thought was like a pretty good thinking player with like pocket 7s or something like that.
All right, we're gonna move this along because it's going a little bit slow. I got 2 more callers, but I don't
All
think
right, sorry about that.
I don't think it's necessarily a mistake necessarily to check it back. You say Villain One's got 180, so now he's got about maybe 160 or something like that. I'm assuming the other guy has about the same. So, I mean, you're looking at about 4 or 5 pot size bets here. I mean, at this level, I would just tend to bet small because what ends up happening is that if you bet small, like $10, a lot of people are going to interpret that like you've missed because I bet you a lot of people in that game will bet small when they don't have anything, but they just know, but they think that they're supposed to bet at 1-2. So you'll see a lot of inconsistencies in bet sizing when smaller actually means quite weak. So I think that I would probably bet $10 to $15 here and get looked up by a lot of pairs. Because if you check this back, yeah, a guy might take a stab at it maybe on the turn, but you'd be surprised and see how light you're going to get called. But anyways, you check it through. What's the turn?
So the turn comes the 4 of spades.
Okay, so you've got a spade draw now. It's queen 5-5, turns a 4, and you've got king queen with king queen of spades, right?
Right.
Yep.
And the villain leads at the pot for 25.
Okay. Leads for 25. The guy in the middle folds or what?
Yeah, the guy in the middle folds.
Okay.
And it's on me.
Okay.
And I decide to call.
Okay, I mean, I don't think that that's I mean, I don't think that that's. I mean, if guys at 1-2 could possibly have a 5, you'd hate to be jammed on here, and you can call, and it's certainly if a river comes to brick and he checks to you, I'm hoping that you know from CLP that you're going to value bet the river because king queen, the river rolls off a 7 and the guy checks to you, you've got the nuts here. You know what I mean? Like the nuts in the sense of course
absolutely.
This is going to be a value
absolutely. Bet. And I thought about. One of the things I did think about was this guy could have ace queen, and I also thought there's a chance that he may have like a hand like ace 5, although that's doubtful because of I think he's tighter than that. And then I'm thinking the other thing is he would have maybe pocket 4s or some type of make diamond draw, because I have the spades and I don't think he's really going to have spades that often. So he bets 25 and I call.
Yep.
And then the river is the king of diamonds.
Okay, so completes front door diamonds and it gives you top 2. And it doesn't really change anything actually about the hand in terms of your hand strength, with the exception of the fact that unless he somehow limped with ace queen. That's the only thing it changes. Yeah.
And that's what I'm thinking at this point. And he went all in for like a little bit over 125.
So he leads for 25, you call. The pot is 86, and now he moves all in for over a pot size bet.
He moves all in for about 125, a little bit more, like 127 or something like that.
Well, I mean, that is interesting. I mean, the thing that I would say is that, like I said, I don't know how much credit you can give guys to 1-2, but on the surface, if he has any ability to think about poker, he's probably not overly concerned with diamonds because of the fact that you check the flop. So maybe he's making this play with a 5 and he's not scared of front door diamonds when you check back the flop. So you lose to a 5, you lose to diamonds. You correctly say that on the turn you block some of the spade draws here as well. There are some missed straight draws too. I can't tell you from afar whether or not I would fold or call here. Even though it might not make sense to you, caller, like I find it difficult to just fold hands that are actually somewhat strong when you have feigned weakness. Now, this is much, much different than the previous caller that asked about how do you bet fold top 2 when you're betting on the river and somebody raises you. That's a much, much different scenario than you checking back the flop and then only calling the turn and this guy moving in all in the river, because I will certainly make the case that a bluffing frequency will be much, much higher in this scenario because you have feigned weakness than somebody raising you on the river, which is almost non-existent. So a lot of times people look at these situations and they think that they're similar when they're really not. So I might just throw my hands up and call, but you probably don't beat much. And I don't know if you make a lot of money by making big laydowns when you play hands kind of tricky at 1-2. That would kind of be my case. Let me guess, did you fold and he showed you a bluff?
I folded, but he did not show me a bluff. He capped his cards and
Okay.
mucked. I tried talking to him. Like, I asked him, I was like, I know you're tight, I said to the guy, and he just kind of looked at me. And he knows me from playing there. And I said, the only thing that makes sense here is pocket fours. Like, the only thing that makes sense that you would do this with, when I was looking at him. And I said, I guess you could have diamonds. And then I just mucked. And
well, why couldn't he have a 5? Why couldn't he have diamonds?
I just didn't think he'd have very many 5s because I know he's super tight under the gun, and I didn't think he would play like even ace-5 suited under the gun.
Yeah.
Like, I think he's much tighter than that.
You'd be surprised
I
at
could
how
be
loose
wrong,
people play
but
at 1-2. You'd be very surprised. Check out Live in the Biker Stones and look at some of the smaller
no, I
games.
agree with you. No,
Yeah.
I know what you're saying. I just think this guy was a little different, and I know I don't normally try to like figure out how to play hands against the other players who are thinking players at the table. I try and extract as much as I can. But this one kind of killed me because all I could think of was I have spades. Like, what could he be bluffing with? And I guess like 6-7
That's true.
He could be bluffing
no,
with.
That's certainly true. And it is a big bet at 1-2. So I think you're probably not going to lose much money either way by calling or folding. I'm just telling you that whenever I'm playing in a small game, I usually don't make big folds after I've feigned weakness. But thanks for the call. I appreciate it.
All right. Thanks a lot, Bart.
All right. Hey guys, if you like what you've seen here, please click on the subscribe button and you'll get notified every time we put up a new video. And if you want to check out crushlivepoker.com for the first month free, use the code YTA100. Click on the link right there.